Let's see. Um, this will pick it up. This should pick it up now.
The assaults against us and our vessels in commerce have all taken place in the venue of international maritime law. The predators have been plundering and feasting upon the assets of the United States Trust, 1789, which they are in fact obligated to protect. They've gotten away with this unmolested because the people and institutions we trusted to represent us and our interests were taken over long ago under conditions of deceit and non-disclosure by international banking cartels. There was nobody at the helm of our ship of state, and we were told this by the perpetrators who simply claimed to represent us and proceeded to misrepresent and abuse us and our material interests in whatever ways profited them and their interests instead. So, at long last, we woke up. The Uniform Commercial Code was invented by the Roman Curia as a special law form to expedite claims resulting from the bankruptcy of the G5 nations declared at the Geneva Conventions of 1930. It is our means to claim back any and all expenses against the rats in behalf of our real states and us, the living inhabitants thereof. We, our states and our individual estates, were defrauded and lied to and lied about. FDR created a bunch of trusts, Americans and American states, which existed only on paper. These served as a device to lay false claims against our real assets. By then, the perpetrators, operating a private for-profit corporation as our government, were intent on plundering the National Trust. Look at the Pledge of Allegiance. I securing individual consent. Pledge, an ancient feudal act of serfs and subjects to a king. My allegiance, individual obligation to serve, to the United States of America, deceptively named impostor, not the United States of America major, but a sound-alike impostor, and to the republic for which it stands. So, now, ask yourself, why would the republic, our nation, our government, need or want anything else to represent it or stand for it? The Pledge of Allegiance is a deceptive verbal contract giving us notice that this thing, this private, for-profit, mostly foreign-owned corporation is usurping our rightful government, and that it is representing, or in other words, standing for our lawful government however it sees fit. And that by repeating this oath of allegiance to it, we are giving our individual consent to serve the corporation as serfs and servants thereof. Now is it beginning to be clear what has been done for you? You and every other American have been defrauded of your birthright, and your organic state has been plundered by a foreign nation merely calling itself the United States of America Minor, composed of what we think of as
Indian Star, Wagwan. Respect, respect.
federal territories and possessions: Guam, Puerto Rico, American Samoa, the 7 insular states, and by foreign banking cartels. The Federal Reserve operated the United States of America. Incorporated in since 1944, the United Nations Corporation, doing business as the International Monetary Fund, has operated as the United States Incorporated, and between them they have utterly misrepresented, misused, defrauded and abused our actual national trust and the real American states and the real national government we are owed by contract and trust indenture. The actual name of this country is the United States of America. The word united was an adjective used to describe states of America. It was not and is not part of the proper name of this country. It was deceptively included in the name by the perpetrators of this fraud scheme to create a separate legal entity calling itself the United States of America. So, when we claim back our assets against the...
I'm just basically playing, I don't know. What would I say this is called? Europeans telling on Europeans. It was fantastic.
United Nations and the IMF. It is because these entities have been plundering our individual estates and our organic states for 70 years. When we claim back against Elizabeth II, we claim back for breach of trust. Same thing with Westminster, breach of trust and treaty amounting to contract. We are claiming back the assets of the states of America, our actual country, and the estates of the individual living Americans inhabiting the actual country from the control and misrepresentation of these false trustees and international organizations, that is, The criminal banking cartels operating the governmental services corporations masquerading as our lawful government. That is why the UCC ones are being filed, and the reason that more people are flesh and blood bodies back into the American states, which are our actual country, and the estates of the individual living Americans inhabiting the actual country from the control and misrepresentation of these false trustees and international organizations, that is, the criminal banking cartels operating the governmental services corporations masquerading as our lawful government. That is why the UCC ones are being filed, and the reason that more people representing more actual organic states of the United States of
UCC1. The UCC1. UCC1. We write that down. We'll check it out.
Of America need to file. I and a handful of others figured all this out while more actual organic states of the United States of America need to file. I and a handful of others figured all this out while the bankruptcy of the United States of America, Incorporated, was still in motion, and we extracted the estates that had been constructed and operated under our given names, including our flesh and blood bodies, back into the American states, which are the only states in operation that are competent to receive and contain a living, flesh and blood entity. Organic people require an organic state, not a legal fiction. We finessed this through as the window of opportunity was closing forever. By extracting our own estates back to the organic state of the Union, we preserved our own claims on our assets, but more importantly, we established a common interest for all other Americans in all the organic states. Among those who did this, only I took the further measure of issuing an irrevocable will that formally grants that common interest back to the states and to the inhabitants of those states, setting up the basis all the way back for each and every individual and state to reclaim their assets from the perpetrators based on being defrauded and having made a lawful, timely counterclaim. So make the counterclaim. File the UCC ones as David has demonstrated in behalf of your organic state, such as the state of Ohio or the state of Minnesota and the states of America, against the United Nations and the IMF, which have been holding them in receivership. These organic bodies are all individuals except for the States of America, which is an unincorporated association of the states. Tell the world that you've been defrauded by this multinational conglomerate and that the United Nations Corporation is responsible. Tell the members of Congress that they do not represent you nor your organic state, and that you resent and object to their pretensions that their private corporate office operated under a deliberately deceitful similar name has anything to do with the public offices you and your state are owed. Now I want to point out a few other things. It was the intention of the Federal Reserve Banking Cartel to reorganize after the settlement of the bankruptcy of the United States of America, Incorporated, and simply boot up another round of fraud. They reorganized as the Federal Reserve under UN auspices and used the credit side of the national debt credit they siphoned off and which actually belongs to you as the basis for issuing a new form of currency they have called the U.S.
Sneaky motherfuckers.
Treasury note to replace the Federal Reserve note. Same scam, different names. They use credit they stole from you to indebt you again. Unable to charge your estates for public. Now I want to point out a few other things. It was the intention of the Federal Reserve Banking Cartel to reorganize after the settlement of the bankruptcy of the United States of America, Incorporated, and simply boot up another round of fraud. They reorganized as the Federal Reserve under UN auspices and used the credit side of the national debt credit they siphoned off and which actually belongs to you as the basis for issuing a new form of currency they have called the U.S. Treasury note to replace the Federal Reserve note. Same scam, different names. They use credit they stole from you to indebt you again. Unable to charge your estates for public services they are obligated to provide. The IMF's corporation doing business as the United States, Incorporated, would be forced into bankruptcy, and the whole cycle would begin again. The roles would simply flip-flop. But we complained. We recognized the fraud involved. So that got too hot to handle, and the IMF, collaborating with the World Bank and IBRD, came up with Plan B. You will remember that FDR confiscated all privately held American gold back in the 1930s and never paid it back. It was stolen, in other words. You may also remember that there was an audited 8,000 tons of gold stored at Fort Knox, which has, according to the Board of Governors of the Federal Reserve, disappeared and they don't know where it went. Similarly, the nationalist
Motherfuckers. See, we keep going around killing each other for worthless pieces of paper. We act a fool and get arrested for worthless pieces of paper, when we should be asking, where the fuck's my gold? Bitch ass motherfucker. And how would I think that we are the ones who actually had the gold? Because the Negroes in the 50s, even before then, were the ones who actually are from the civilization that actually had majority of the gold. I think Mr. T was actually trying to tell us something when he wore all that gold around his neck, to let us know that we are the children of the sun, meaning the golden children. And these motherfuckers been trying to corrupt us just like forever.
Chinese government collected and stored vast amounts of gold that went missing, and German gold that was left on deposit with the Federal Reserve Bank of New York has vanished, too. All this
I wonder where all the gold went. Could it have been NASA? Every single spaceship, every single satellite, every single rocket has to be lined in gold. Oh, every single space suit has to be lined in gold. And how many times did they ever go out and say, oh, they went to the moon? But then we destroyed everything and we don't know how to get back out there. Oh, there is intense radiation called the Van Allen belt that could basically destroy everything. How did Elon Musk get past that one?
gold that belonged to all these people just vanished while in the keeping of the Federal Reserve Banks and various other collaborators. And now, this week, according to Karen Hughes, this fantastically large gold hoard kept in something they are calling the Global Debt Facility has appeared out of nowhere and is available for...
Oh, the Global Debt Facility. Could we be dealing with a global reset facility?
Direct distribution to the people of the world. According to her, a philanthropist named Wolfgang Strutt has been sitting on this gold for many years, blah, blah, blah. And if you believe all that, then you believe in the Tooth Fairy, too. This gold hoard, which has just come to light in IMF World Bank IBRD control, is gold that has been plundered and pillaged from the people of the world, especially the Chinese, the Germans, and Americans, but everyone else, too, for generations. It consists of 25,000 metric tons of gold, an amount equivalent to 7 years' worth of the entire demand for gold worldwide at the present time. The Chinese already figured out the genesis of this gold hoard as ill-gotten gains, some of which they are owed, and they showed up at the table to reclaim their assets. The Americans have done our due.
Where is our seat? Because I want me some gold. I don't want no paper money. This here's worthless shit.
Doing the same. The German government has been tipped off, and there is no doubt that they will be coming to breakfast also. The IMF, World Bank, IBRD were so sure that they had control of our states and our estate assets that they were willing to let go of their gold hoard as a means to 1.
Let's hear, was the IMF, World Bank, IBRD. The IMF, World Bank, IBRD.
Defeat the BRICS Bank Initiative. And 2. Permanently defraud us and the rest of the world. 2. You see, Ms. Hughes has announced that everyone under the IMF plan will receive $100,000. 00 in gold, and implied that this will be a free gift. The release of that much gold into the world economy will, temporarily at least and for some years to come, tank the value of gold and also destroy the basis of the BRICS banking initiative. And the gift comes with strings attached. It's not a gift. It's a deceptive unilateral buyout offer. People will have to sign up to receive their share voluntary active contract. Once they take delivery, the banks will claim that they have agreed to give up their birthright claim to the land of their birth and to all their natural assets in exchange for the gold. And that the gold was their equitable consideration for their enslavement and for forfeiture of their share of the land and their labor.
Isn't that some shit? Isn't that always some strings attached? Isn't that the same thing that the global reset actually is all about? Isn't that what they said? They basically, you'll sign a contract giving up all your assets, giving up everything that you will hold claim to. So basically, and all your debts will be gone, you know. But so that goal is free for me, but in order for me to get it through you, I have to give up everything, and then therefore I'm gonna be renting for the rest of my life. Reason being is that much gold would provide assets or increase in interest, and I can actually live off the interest because, according to this here statement, man, don't you love it when Europeans narc on Europeans? Because they tell about like real stuff like economy and wealth, and I'm telling you owe me some money. If you don't pay me, I'm telling. Oh shit.
This frog gambit, too, deserves to be recognized for what it is and stomped on, together with those proposing it, both the Federal Reserve and the IMF and their sponsors. The deceptively named United States of America Minor and the United Nations Corporation have functioned as criminal syndicates, and all these entities are operating in violation of their corporate charters. They and their pals, the BIS, the HSB, the IBRD, and the World
Them and their pals, the BIS, the HSB, the IBRD, and the World Bank. Ooh. Shouldn't the question be asking, where's my money? Where's my money, bitch?
World Bank are all uniformly to blame, all have colluded in this gigantic fraud, and all deserve to burn in hell. Let those who have ears hear. When what is true comes, what is false must pass away. Realize that the gold they are offering to give everyone belongs to everyone. It has been stolen from the people of the world. Realize that the hidden unilateral contract they are offering in exchange for that gold which belongs to you anyway is the ultimate endgame fraud, an attempt to claim all resources of the world, including the human resources as chattel belonging to the United Nations Corporation, once and for all. The United Nations and all these other spawn of Satan legal fiction entities need to be collapsed. They are nothing but lies that have been used to entrap and deceive and oppress the people of the world. It is time to put Pope Francis and the Roman Curia and the College of Cardinals on the hot seat for not controlling and liquidating them all outright. Pope Francis gave them 3 years to clean up their acts top to bottom, and instead they have laughed in his face, accelerated their frauds, and spun off even more diabolical and disgusting acts of criminality against the nations and people of this world. Time for them all to go away. And for each nation to have peace, its own currency, its own borders, and its own identity back. Tear down the United Nations Corporation and you will have gone a long way to ending war and oppression in this world. Tear down the banking cartels and issue, or rather, reissue, your own national currency. Tear down the bar associations which have facilitated this mess. Outlaw them. Put in the UCC1 claims and claim back your real states and your own lawful identities and your own private property assets from this gigantic sludge pile of frauds and counter frauds. Those who are Catholic, lift up your heads from your complacency and start pushing. Push the priests and the nuns and the archbishops in your diocese. Bring on the tidal wave of the house of God and wash away the sins of the church with true action and repentance for the harm these lies and decades of misadministration have caused. Help Pope Francis deal with and clean up this horrific mess. Yours in Christ, Anna Maria, https://w.
Anna Maria writes, she is vexed. She is vexed. They tried to steal something from her, and she's like, I'm telling everybody. I don't care. I don't care what you think. I don't care what you say. I am telling. it's now 6:42 in the morning. I've been up since 3. I'm going to post a ghetto video. It is of a science project because I would like to get the youths involved in science, engineering, mathematics, you name it. Because the thing about it is, it seems like the rest of the world is going like that, and we're still awesome at sports. We're still awesome at sports. So I got these. I got a whole bunch of them, right? Batteries. And I did a little experiment. I only did an experiment with one battery, but I'm gonna upload it. And you know, can you turn that off for a sec, please? Yeah. So I'm gonna upload it, and then I want you to tell me what you think of it, because I'm gonna call it Doppy in me water. I think that's what I'm gonna call it. So I want you to check it out, and I hope you like it. But today is gonna be a short one. I want to thank what is it? Charles Johnson, Free Papio. Let's see. Wagwan must be cartoon. Yes, it is cartoon time. Oh yeah, we definitely are awesome and everything. Let's see. American Indian Star, respect, respect. Joel, respect, respect. Free, respect. Free Papio, respect, respect. Charles Johnson, respect. Just want to say respect. But check out my science experiment and tell me what you think. It's a bunch of different little videos because basically I don't know how to edit. I'm doing everything myself. I'm still learning. But yeah, I think they're all pretty interesting. And it's if you can explain to me what's happening, it's just basically regular tap water. I'm going to do another experiment where I take distilled water and do the same thing. But this is my tap water, and there's some shit in the water. And when you trigger it, it comes out and shows itself. And to me, it looks like Duppy and Mawata. Like, Mawata full of ghosts. So check out that science experiments at the Ghetto Labs. Ghetto Labs.